boy.
So conservatives have been constantly crying that all of film and all of cinema is just rubbish now because it's so woke. It's all about leftist politics and communism and Marxism and all that different stuff. So they've taken to making their own movies, and most of these movies amount to just either religious or political propaganda. And they are terrible movies because they're first and foremost political propaganda. They're not trying to be subtle at all. And I will say, I have seen movies that are made by conservatives or either do have like conservative depictions of time, which are actually pretty decent because they're trying to make like art first with like subtext and messaging, not literally make like political hit pieces or just like weird Christian movies about how all atheists are like evil and stuff. So of course the Daily Wire has been getting into movies, and they recently made that like terrible Western movie starring Gina Carano. But now Gina Carano is starring in another conservative movie, this one about Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, all about Hunter Biden's laptop and all about how corrupt the Bidens are. Because of the tragic history of Joe Biden's family, and just like Hunter Biden obviously having issues with things like addiction, there probably is like an interesting movie about Joe Biden and his family to be made. But as we're going to watch in the trailer, this is not that movie. This, in essence, is just meant to be a hit piece against Joe Biden. And, you know, I've got no love for Joe Biden at all. I think he's a complete dinosaur. I think his political career has been insanely damaging for so many Americans. I am not a Biden fan at all. But if you're going to make movies criticizing him, there is so much to do. Maybe be a bit more subtle and don't pick up on this like hysteria around Hunter Biden and how Joe Biden is in on all the shady deals. So what we're going to do in this video is just talk more in depth about this movie coming out, because you guys have probably seen the trailer on Twitter. You guys might have seen like your favorite streamer react to it. And I am going to react to the trailer, but I thought giving it more context, talk about the people who are involved, talk about the director, talk about the writer, and talk about their like filmography, which is absolutely terrible as well. And then talk about at the end probably conservatives like looking forward to this movie, which says so much, and just talking about like why conservatives often make like absolutely terrible films. So all of that coming up for you today. But before we go any further, please like the video, and in the comments I've asked before, what is your favorite conservative movie? So in the comments, please let me know, what is the worst conservative movie you've either watched or maybe even seen like an in-depth review on YouTube? Like I know Ralph the Movie Maker has made a lot of videos about like Steven Seagal movies and stuff, which look absolutely terrible. Honestly, I'm not the sort of person who enjoys watching bad movies and like seeks them out. I have watched movies that are pretty blatantly conservative, like The Deer Hunter and Top Gun, but I wouldn't say they are necessarily like bad films. So let me know down in the comments. Also, check out my social media at the Kavernacle on Instagram, on Twitter. Also consider becoming a patron. I'm trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible, and the benefits of which are getting access to the Discord server and getting my Nintendo Switch friend code. And also, as I am moving to Vietnam a week on Thursday, I'm going to be posting like exclusive videos about my time there. Not anything like crazy, but just talking about what it's like to live there and stuff. So if you're interested in getting that content, consider becoming a patron. And also check out the subreddit and the second channel down in the description. So we're going to get onto the trailer for My Son Hunter, and I'm going to give a bit of like a breakdown. We're going to stop at like some of the more funny moments and just talk about like how ridiculous this looks as this kind of like Scorsese rip-off film, making Hunter Biden look like the Wolf of Wall Street, which is pretty funny. But also I was curious, like, where does this film come from? And apparently it's crowdfunded, which I didn't know when I watched the trailer. So let me just read you a quick article about how this film came to exist. So in the Washington Times, My Son Hunter, Irish filmmakers behind Gosnell launched crowdfunding for Hunter Biden movie. So this is about a year and a half ago. A movie about the life and times of Hunter Biden is in the works, but it's not coming out of Hollywood. There's a surprise. Conservative Irish filmmakers William McAleer announced Tuesday the launch of a 60-day crowdfunding campaign aimed at raising $2.5 million for My Son Hunter, a film based on the true story of the 51-year-old son of the president. It's about Hunter Biden and his corrupt business dealings. This movie is going to tell the whole story. China, Russia, Ukraine, and you can help make this happen. So these guys are obsessing on the Hunter Biden laptop story, and I'm not going to really go into too much detail, but just a report from Vox in March of this year. So just talking about the laptop. So in April 2019, someone dropped off 3 water-damaged laptops with him for repair, Mac Isaac claimed. He couldn't say for sure who dropped them off because he is legally blind, but he said the person identified himself as Hunter Biden and signed a receipt with what appears to be his name. One of the laptops had a Beau Biden Foundation sticker. No one ever returned to pick up the laptop, so Mac Isaac, an enthusiastic Trump supporter, started looking at what's on one of them. He saw what he thought was lots of scandalous material, so he called authorities and handed it over, but also kept the copy of the material on his hard drive. At some point, he gave it to Rudy Giuliani and Robert Costello, and they gave it to the New York Post. Post and other conservative media outlets' coverage of Hunter's files partly involved lurid material about Hunter's personal life. Hunter's struggles with addiction were already a matter of public record, but the files contained further embarrassing details. The other focus of the coverage was Hunter's lucrative foreign work, most notably with a Ukrainian gas company and Chinese business interests. Trump allies had long claimed this work proved not just Hunter's, but Joe Biden's corruption, and they combed through Hunter's emails to try and make the case. There were 2 supposed smoking guns about Biden. The first was an email the Post called Blockbuster, in which an executive at a Ukrainian gas company thanked Hunter for the opportunity to meet your father in 2015. The second involved a business venture that Hunter tried to set up with a Chinese energy tycoon. One email mentions that the equity split would include 10 held by H for the big guy. A former business partner of Hunter's named Tony Bobulinski came forward to claim the big guy was Joe Biden, but a subsequent email from Hunter says the chairman gave him an emphatic no. A further email clarifies that the chairman is his dad. What this amounts to is Joe Biden apparently refusing some deal Hunter tried to get him into. An alternative possibility is that Joe was not actually ever involved, and that Hunter had just been throwing his name around. By Bobulinski's own account, he briefly met Biden the day before an event, and the former vice president only said vague things to him. Like, I'm not saying I don't have a problem with the son of one of the most notable politicians who used to be the vice president and is now the president, kind of using that to do maybe like shady business deals with Ukraine and China. I also think it's pretty like symptomatic of just general political corruption in Washington, where people always use their influence in the private sector to get into business dealings. And it seems like Hunter Biden probably tried to involve Joe Biden because, you know, that would make the deal go down quicker or smoother and stuff like that. I mean, like Joe Biden, because he's the president, his business expenses and his dealings are pretty well known at this point. But if there is shady stuff, then, you know, FBI, go investigate Hunter Biden. I literally do not care. But it seems ironic that Trump, who just had his own home raided by the FBI, for basically holding on to classified information that he might have sold to foreign governments, they're still crying about Hunter Biden's laptop, despite this story being nearly 2 years old now. So that was the setup for you. Now we're going to get into the My Son Hunter full trailer starring Gina Carano and Laurence Fox. So I'm just going to stop at random parts and we're going to talk about it. If you want to watch the whole trailer, just type in My Son Hunter full trailer. So here we go.
So I'll tell you what's going down.
You know who I am.
They told me you were VIP, well connected to the government.
What kind of a moron forgets to pick up his laptop at a repair shop? You're a Biden. Act like one. Everything he built, his life, I just ruined it all. I want to know everything that's on that laptop that can ruin my erection.
I'm sorry, did the actor playing Joe Biden say erection there? Like, I want to know everything that's on that laptop that might ruin my erection.
It can ruin my erection. It can ruin my erection. It can ruin my erection. Erection.
But yeah, not very subtle. Almost immediately start talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. And I do love the look Hunter Biden gives his father after he allegedly says, ruin my erection. I'm sure the laptop containing very explicit images of your son probably would ruin your erection.
My friends, it's time to party!
Didn't you know I'm taking control? I'm making appearance and I gotta go, cause I get them dancing with their hands up. Yeah, I walk in and they go bananas. I'm a bad, yeah.
I'm an artist.
And they're cheering my
Tell me how I can help you.
I don't deserve help. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've been through worse.
So they just see a montage pretty much trying to show you how unstable Hunter Biden is and how he's just into all these vices, basically trying to make him look like the Wolf of Wall Street and screaming about partying, doing all these drugs and stuff. Hunter Biden looks like a mess in this, and obviously Laurence Fox giving his impression there. I'm going to talk about who Laurence Fox is a bit later if you guys don't know, because he's a ridiculous conservative from the UK. But let's go into the trailer a bit more.
What's been on a gang's dad? I just wish I could smack some sense into you. I'll never forget Corn Pop. He was a bad dude. No joke. Dad, we were talking about suffering.
So far in this very serious trailer for a serious film, we've got references to Hunter Biden's laptop. We've got him, you know, participating in various vices. And then we got Joe Biden talking about Corn Pop being a bad dude.
Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
I'm kind of busy right now.
Again, this isn't like a satire. This isn't like an SNL sketch. Seriously, Joe Biden is going to talk about Corn Pop to his son Hunter Biden in this. Because, like, why? I guess Joe Biden, because he brought it up once in one of his many, like, weird ramblings, he just always talks about Corn Pop being a bad dude, even when his son is venting about all his issues.
I can't seem to find anything but positive stuff on the Bidens.
Who's the point man for the foreign policy in the Obama regime? Joe Biden. So it looks like you need $1 billion.
So the obvious next question is,
Where's Hunter? I can remember getting paid some money, but I can't remember what for. Well, my dad says we never discuss my businesses, period. Or my cut.
what's happening in there? Joe's in on it.
So Joe Biden is a criminal mastermind, according to this trailer. It actually is funny how much he reminds me of Donald Trump in this for some reason. Just, I guess, him walking around like he's in on all these shady business dealings. Also, can we talk about the style for a sec? So Gina Carano is like one of his bodyguards. She is talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall. Then we have Laurence Fox's Hunter Biden also breaking the fourth wall. And then we have Joe Biden himself talking to the camera about him getting his cut. So Joe Biden in this is pretty gleeful in his corruption in that he's actually telling the audience. But I don't think this actually works, because if we're making this film and it's about like Hunter Biden and you're trying to do this like Scorsese, I am Henry Hill talking to the camera about my life, it doesn't really work if then some random ass security guard, obviously probably gonna have a pretty prominent role, Gina Carano, then starts talking to the camera as well. And then Joe Biden also starts talking to the camera. And even that line, Joe is in on it. It's hilariously on the nose. And like I've always said, conservatives don't understand subtext in film. Therefore, when they make their own films, they can't be subtle. So they literally have to have a character talk to the audience and tell you, yeah, Joe Biden's in on it. And Joe Biden himself even has to come and tell the audience, I'm getting my fat cut of this shady business dealing as well. Because something about being a conservative means you basically have no critical thinking skills. So you could never infer all this stuff from just watching a movie, which is pretty standard about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. You literally have to have characters break the fourth wall to tell you what is going on. Again, looks totally trash as a movie and just looks so stupid. But let's finish the trailer.
And you threw it all away. You hope the laptop will take down everybody with you.
China's not our enemy. They're not bad folks. I love my dad, and I just want to make him proud. I am the one who brings in all the deals. I am the one. Good boy.
So I guess they're trying to say self-destructive Hunter Biden is trying to bring down his whole family by leaving the laptop in the repair store. I do love the shots of Joe Biden dancing with all that money and then also sniffing Gina Carano's hair. It's just so stupid. This is going to be so bad. I will say that at least from the trailer compared to other conservative movies, it does seem to have a more distinct style, and I can understand like what it's going for. It just looks terrible. You know that film Gotti with John Travolta, which was just like a blatant rip-off of like Scorsese? This feels like some sort of weird political rip-off of The Wolf of Wall Street. And you just know it's going to be horrible. Yeah, they do have more established actors like Laurence Fox and Gina Carano. I wouldn't say these are great actors anyway. But again, it's meant to be political propaganda first. It's not meant to be a movie. It's not meant to be art with messages against Hunter Biden or trying to tell like a human relatable story about Hunter Biden's struggle with addiction or growing up in this very political family, which has completely been ripped apart often by family tragedy and stuff like that. It's literally like Joe Biden sniffing someone's hair, Joe Biden telling the audience he's getting a fat cut, Gina Carano telling you Joe Biden is in on it, and Hunter Biden just being like completely unhinged and unstable. Looks very, very weird. But before we go any further, you guys might not know who Laurence Fox is, the guy playing Hunter Biden. I don't want to dwell on it too much because he's such an attention seeker. Basically, Laurence Fox is like a British actor. He was married to Billie Piper. You Americans might have seen her on Doctor Who. And basically, I think it was like 2 years ago or a bit more, he started to become this very, very like contrarian right-wing grifter. I originally remember him coming out because he was talking about the film 1917 and how the presence of Indian soldiers in a World War I movie was like virtue signaling and really took him out of the movie, despite the fact that tens of thousands of Indian soldiers actually fought in France for the British Empire in World War I, and it was just a tiny little scene to kind of show that. And on there, he just tried to become more notorious. He had a disastrous run for London Mayor. He constantly appears on like GB News, the rubbish equivalent of Fox News in the UK, just talking about anti-woke stuff and culture war stuff. Basically, think of an anti-SJW YouTuber. That is what he is, but someone who used to have a semi-decent career in acting. So you guys might be wondering, who is behind this movie? Of course, we have failed conservative actors like Gina Carano and Laurence Fox. And I will just say, it's just hilarious seeing Gina Carano in this. Like, she threw away Star Wars. She threw away a potential Mandalorian spin-off that she would star in to star in trash like My Son Hunter and that weird Western film made by the Daily Wire. So I went onto IMDb, and we already kind of spoke about this guy called Philip McClure, and he's the guy who has wrote this with someone else called Brian Godower. I just want to run you through his other projects and how unsubtle they are as well. So if you go on his filmography, I want to talk about this one, the Obamagate movie, Frack Nation, and Not Evil, Just Wrong. So a movie called Frack Nation. Frack Nation follows journalist Philip McClure as he faces gun threats, malicious 911 calls, and bogus lawsuits when questioning green extremists for the truth about fracking. Fracking is going to make America one of the world's leading energy producers and has become the target of a concerted campaign by environmentalists who want it banned. In Frack Nation, McClure travels across the US and Europe to uncover the science suppressed by environmental activists and ignored by much of the media. He talks with scientists and ordinary Americans who live in fracking areas and who tell him the truth behind the exaggerations and misrepresentations of anti-fracking activists. And I just found a film review on The Hollywood Reporter. I just want to share you a paragraph of it or two. So the Kickstarter-funded documentary featuring Philip McClure takes a decidedly positive approach to the practice, pretty much heralding it as a saviour of mankind. In scene after scene, McClure extols its virtues and derides those lefty green extremists who would doom us to return to the Stone Age. The principal theme is the economic hardship imposed by rural communities and farmers by the banning of the process, which according to the film has been around since 1947. McClure makes a claim that the vast majority affected are actually in favour of fracking, including numerous testimonies from the Heartland figures who make such claims that it would maintain the natural beauty of the area, and that shale gas is a gift from God. More provocatively, he also purports that the anti-fracking movement is being funded by the Russians, who are desperate to preserve their oil dominance. So he has another film called Not Evil, Just Wrong, about Al Gore, the true cost of global warming hysteria. And then another one called Obamagate the movie, and you have this John James guy who plays Biden in the new movie playing James Comey. Also has Dean Cain in there, you know, conservative grifter. I couldn't find any actual reviews on this on like legit websites. Apparently it is a play that was filmed in a Hamilton style in Los Angeles on the Comedy Central stage. And one review says, half a star, somehow the very second person on Letterboxd to have logged this ever. Pretty boring for the most part, and the attempts at humour fall flat even to its chud audience, but lends to this really fascinating view of conservatism that really caters to neoliberal biases, of course unintentionally showing just how similar neoliberalism and conservatism really are, but sees them as inherently good. A lot of what the media won't tell you stuff that even your everyday rando here in the DMV has probably heard about and rightfully doesn't care about. Somehow the second thing I've recently seen, Dean Cain acts much harder then he really has to, but it doesn't elevate the material regardless. So this Philip McClure dude clearly is just a conservative political propagandist. There is no subtlety in his films. His work is literally like hit pieces against like Obama, against people who want to ban fracking. I think the target of the documentary was Josh Fox, and now something about Joe Biden as well. And it's quite funny. I actually watched him on his YouTube channel interview the guy playing Joe Biden, who was kind of coming at it in a more serious way, like talking about like how famous he is, like the tragedy of the Biden family. And he kind of just wanted to talk about his career in this video. And it's funny, throughout the interview, McClure just keeps talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, but John James just like does not really engage with that or respond to it, in my opinion, because he's probably just doing this for a paycheck. So the actor John James apparently was in some show that was notable called Dynasty, but the director is called Robert Davi. By his IMDb page, is an actor who's been in a lot of stuff. Most of the stuff is pretty garbage anyway. But anyway, he gave an interview to Breitbart about the film, and I just want to show you some clips from the interview, and then we can talk about it.
When we were filming, we filmed in Serbia because I needed, Ukraine. I needed to have that visuals. And a month before I was there, Hunter was in Serbia at Belgrade, a month before we started to film. And also they sent a team of lawyers down that was saying they were doing a documentary to infiltrate the set. And we find out later on that they were sent down, and they're representing Hunter Biden. Now, what's he doing in Serbia when we're filming in November and October or September? What was Hunter doing in Serbia, in Belgrade, in September? And it's very interesting. There was a film that was done called American Hustle that I liked about the ab scam. This FBI sting, the ab scam. Look what happened to Donald Trump recently, and Don knows this better than anybody. I mean, this is a story that the FBI should be all over, and they're nowhere to be seen. This is the biggest story in America, as far as I'm concerned, because the corruption has been kept from the public.
So yeah, clearly a guy who is fully buying into his conservative worldview and conservative grift, saying the Hunter Biden laptop story is like one of the most important in America right now, and Trump's own FBI didn't investigate it, so it couldn't have been that important. I mean, the point about corruption, yeah, like Joe Biden is corrupt, Hunter Biden is probably pretty corrupt as well, but it doesn't seem like on the level of what Trump has been doing with all this classified information, which no president before him has even attempted to take away, but he stole boxes of and maybe even sold them to foreign governments. I mean, that scandal seems a fair bit worse, but Robert disagrees. Now, just like Robert playing into this like hysteria about the laptops, it reminds me of Benghazi back in the day and that Michael Bay movie. There was also like a lot of conservative figures really promoting this film. Of course, the former president's favourite son, Donald Trump Jr., has been all over this as well. So Breitbart reporting, Don Jr. on My Son Hunter panel, this film is an incredible example of conservatives looking for alternative venues to spend their hard-earned money. Donald Trump saying, look at Disney stock, look at Netflix stock, look at what's going on. Our people have finally had enough. We're no longer just saying, well, we're going to accept different views while the other side takes your hard-earned money and uses it and weaponizes it against all of your belief systems day in and day out. They've said enough, and now they're looking for alternative venues to spend their hard-earned money, and I think this movie is going to be an incredible example of that. So on Twitter, I've seen loads of like blue checkmark conservatives celebrating this film. Of course, it had Giuliani and Don Jr. also celebrating it. I haven't seen too many anti-SJW nerd channels celebrating it, maybe because the film is too political, but it does seem something like they're clamoring for. Like, you don't want any woke BS in your films anymore, so why don't you check out My Son Hunter with your fave, Gina Carano, who stood by her principles and got let go from the Mandalorian. I can't really imagine a film about like a conservative president where the whole like cast and crew and developers of the film are so in bed with like the liberal political movement. Can you imagine like Bill Clinton working really closely with Adam McKay on Vice about like George Bush or I don't know, Obama or something? It seems totally bizarre that would happen. And of course you do have people who work in liberal politics and then go on to work on like liberal political films or just general political films. That does happen. But the weirdness of like Don Jr. and Giuliani promoting this and like obviously Breitbart promoting this massively and stuff like that, is all because this film is just a political hit piece, and it's not really trying to be anything special. It's just trying to make people suddenly care about the Hunter Biden story, which has been a thing for 2 years at this point. But it shows you the world if conservatives could actually decide what we watch, because conservatives, in my opinion, by and large, both cannot critically assess pieces of art in media like film and TV, but they also do not understand subtext, like I was saying before, so they have to have things force-fed to them. And not to say there can't be conservative films with redeeming qualities. So I talked about The Deer Hunter earlier. Now, The Deer Hunter, in my opinion, pushes a very conservative revisionist view of the Vietnam War. And it also really dehumanizes the Vietnamese people themselves. I think this film is actually incredibly racist. And the thing is, the conservative politics of it, apart from like the visual depictions, I think it's kind of subtext, because all of the Americans in this film are Russian Orthodox. And of course, the subtext being that these people sign up to go fight in Vietnam. Why would Russian Orthodox communities and young Russian American men from these communities go fight in the Vietnam War voluntarily? It's because they don't like communism. It's because the Orthodox Church has actually made like the royal family, Tsar Nicholas and his children, like saints in the Orthodox Church. So you can read into The Deer Hunter that sort of subtext, but it doesn't have a character saying to the camera, do you know why I'm going to Vietnam? It's those communists who, back in the day, killed the royal family of Russia or something. Also, conservatives analysing media is also telling, because they might like stuff like this, but then they also like stuff that often is fairly subtle. Like we talked about how much Ben Shapiro, Geeks and Gamers, they loved Denis Villeneuve's Dune movie, despite the fact he said it was like anti-colonialism and anti-capitalism, and you can see those messages present in the film. But these people who get offended by like a black Jedi in Star Wars suddenly love a movie where the director is very explicit about its leftist slant, but it's because they don't actually understand these things. Like they just see a movie, A to B plot. I like the A to B plot. The subtext is probably too subtle. I don't actually realise the messaging. So maybe if there was a film that had more nuance about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, they actually might miss the political slant, and they might miss some of the messages of the movie. So in this movie, you literally have 3 of the main characters talk to the camera to tell you how corrupt they are or how corrupt Joe Biden is. It's absolutely ridiculous and shows you how conservatives often need to be pandered to actually enjoy their movies. But anyway, I'm looking forward to this movie being an absolute dumpster fire. I did actually kind of want to review it. It comes out in about a week and a bit, so I'm sure some YouTuber you follow will review how terrible this movie is. But let me know what you guys thought of the trailer. Let me know what you guys think of just conservative films in general. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.